Today, we're going to dig a little deeper.
Let's unpack the magic. Welcome to another episode of the Team Unicorn podcast. I am Tyler.
And I'm Sammy.
And today we have something I think really fun in store. We have a new segment that we're debuting, or a new episode kind of theme, I should say, that we're debuting today. We're going to be calling these episodes our Dig a Little Deeper episodes.
Yes.
Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to pick one Disney movie and we're just going to, like it sounds, dig a little deeper into that movie. We've kind of already done something like this similar in the past, but I guess we really didn't have that, like, that, branded, mark on it yet.
Yeah, I don't know. We were just, I think just driving around doing our weekend errands. And
you had this idea and I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like, well, what if we call those episodes like Dig a Little Deeper episodes? Because we're just kind of diving right in and getting down and into it. So,
and I think we've discussed wanting to talk about Princess and the Frog, kind of from the beginning, but then this just really tied itself in really, really nice. And I think these are going to be fun episodes devoted just to one story, much like our Toy Story and Frozen podcasts were. But with this one, it's just one film as opposed to like a franchise like the Toy Story, the Frozen ones were. So that's why it's a little different. But I'm very excited to work on something like this and just really research and get to know a little bit more about these films, because I learned a little bit of information about Princess and the Frog that I didn't know before, talking about it.
Yeah, and that makes it more fun, like just, learning things new. And I mean, we love this movie and digging a little deeper into everything, like, it's fun. It's been a really fun process, and I'm really excited to talk to you about it today.
And I think another big, I guess, motivator or push to talk about Princess and the Frog has been with the recent news of the retheming of Splash Mountain in Disney World and Disneyland to be Princess and the Frog themed.
Yeah, which we have touched on a previous episode, but we actually have a name for the ride now.
It is going to be called Tiana's Bayou Adventure, or TBA. Just like the timeline. It's TBA, which I shouldn't say that anymore because we do have a somewhat, I wouldn't say concrete,
broad time frame.
Yes, at the end, sometime at the end of 2024. Is when the new ride will officially debut. We've talked about it in the past. We're very excited for this retheme. I'm ready for this retheme.
Me too.
I do think that it's going to be a much easier transition in Disneyland than it is going to be in Disney World, just because you have New Orleans Square in Disneyland. And I know that Splash Mountain is technically in Critter Country, but there's no reason that they couldn't just get rid of Critter Country and just make that whole area like a New Orleans Square. So I think they have a little bit easier of a job out in Disneyland to convert it, but either ride, I think, is they're going to do a really good job on it.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm really excited for the name. I like it.
And I know that I've talked in the past.
I was going to say, I know you wanted mountain in the name somewhere.
I did initially want mountain in it, and I think that was just because, like, I remember going to Disney World for the first time, and I didn't get to ride Splash Mountain, so I didn't get to complete the mountains. And that was kind of something that I feel is kind of like a fun, like kind of like a rite of passage when you go there. Like, you have to ride all the mountains.
Yeah, check that off the
list.
So
the fact that it's not technically going to be a mountain is, I guess, I wouldn't say disappointing. It's just, it kind of takes away from like that fun factor of trying to complete all the mountains, which we have in a row one time. But I'm okay with the name, and I obviously there's no mountains in the Bayou.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't work. I didn't want them to keep mountain in it, so I wanted it to be its own new thing.
Yeah, and as opposed to like Big Thunder and Space Mountain, like Space Mountain is just because it's high up. There's not really like a mountain factor to it. Big Thunder Mountain, like you actually feel like you're in the mountains. But like when it comes to like Splash Mountain versus like Expedition Everest, like I feel like you're more inclined to call Expedition Everest a mountain ride because like you're actually in the mountains.
Yes.
I never really particularly thought that Splash was a mountain, other than the fact that it was just high up. But that's just due to the way that the log flume goes. So I think that they'll do a really, really good job converting that area. I can definitely see them converting the top of the hill to Mama Odie's boat in the tree. I think that's a very natural progression. They've had that in the concept art. So I think once that is completed, I don't think that there's going to be any doubt in my mind that like, okay, this is definitely not a mountain anymore.
Yeah. So I love the name, and I just want to like, I know there are people out there that don't like the name, and I was reading some comments, and people are like, well, we're still going to call it Splash Mountain, right? Or we're still going to call it Splash. And I'm like, no, we're not.
like it's like you don't like you don't see people like going on to Frozen Ever After and be like, oh come on, we're gonna go, get our lightning lane for Maelstrom. I'm like, people don't do that.
Like that's kind of rude.
I mean, if anything, I'll probably just call it Tiana's.
I'll probably because like with like Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, like I just call it Remy's. So
and like I've seen other people be like, oh, we're gonna call it the Princess and the Frog Ride. I'm like, no, like just call it Tiana's. It's way easier.
Yeah, way easier.
Like you said with Remy's, like it's Remy's. Like it's fine. I Journey into Imagination, I call it Figment. Like it's and the name of it is beside the point as long as the ride is good.
Yes, and I think the ride is going to be amazing. I don't know. I'm so excited. And there's two things that I just really want to see. Like one is Mama Odie's. Like I don't know exactly where they're gonna put it. I don't know if it's gonna be like as you're going up before the drop, if that's gonna be in there, or if it's gonna be in like the grand finale. But I'm thinking the grand finale is gonna be more like the Mardi Gras party, because that's like what it's kind of themed around.
I could definitely see them keeping that boat at the end of Splash Mountain, putting a Lewis animatronic up there and having a jazz band playing, and like you're going through, there's fireworks in the background. Like that is probably the easiest scene in this ride that you're going to be able to convert over.
But then I didn't know, because Mama Odie's is like, she lives in a boat, so I didn't know like if at the end that would be like Mama Odie's and they're like having the party there. So, but either way, I want to see Mama Odie's like place, like her boat, like, and then the second thing I really want to see is Ray and all his Firefly friends, like just lighting it up somewhere along the ride. Like I need to see that.
That'd be so much fun.
Those are like the two things I really want to see in this ride.
Yes, I think I have two ideas, either for the big lift hill up to that final drop. I do think that would be a really cool place to like have Mama Odie's, because like obviously you're going up into her like the boat in the house, and having all like the I've always had the idea of the different lighting or different colored bottles like hanging down from the ceiling, and all like different lights. So it kind of looks like stained glass in there, like how she has at the end of Dig a Little Deeper. I think that would be really, really cool. But I do also think that lift hill, the way it is right now, is like that's supposed to be like the final scary descent up to the top. So I think like that'd be a really cool place to put Dr. Facilier in there. I don't know if he'll make.
I don't know if he's going to be in there.
I don't know if he'll make some sort of appearance, just because the overall theme of the ride, from what we've gotten from Walt Disney Imagineering, is that this takes place after the events in the movie. Tiana's getting ready to gear up for this big Mardi Gras party. So. Spoiler alert, Dr. Facilier isn't around at the end of the movie. But I think if they kind of take some liberties and kind of include all the characters, I think that would be a perfect spot to put it.
It would be. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess, like, I'm not going to be, like, mad if he is there, like, but I'm definitely okay if he's not, and that's not a part of it. But, yeah, like, Mama Odie's, the stained glass. I forgot about those bottles, but yeah, that needs to be in there. And then Ray and his Firefly family, and and Evangeline somewhere. got to be
just off in the distance there.
So
I do think that there's a lot in the ride that can easily be converted to Princess and the Frog theme, and I've noticed this for a long time by just watching the movie Princess and the Frog again. I saw it. Remember back to the swamp scene. Where they're on their way to find Mama Odie, and there's a couple of frog hunters.
Yep, there's three of them.
One's kind of big and dumb, one's got really long, tall ears, and one's got a really long nose. You can't tell me that they can't just easily make Bear, Rabbit, and Fox into those characters.
And they act like them. I remember you pointed that out to me once, and now that's all I see, like, when we watch that movie.
They look
it's
just
spot
like
on.
them. And so I just because this was like after they first announced it back in 2020, we watched Princess and the Frog once, and I'm like, dude, like those are those characters. Like there's no way that they can't do that. Like all you need to do is just put a different, cover over the animatronic, and you can keep the animatronic the way it is, and I would be totally fine because those characters interact in the ride just like they do in the movie.
Yep.
So I think that is a super easy natural transition. And then the other one I noticed, which I mentioned before, was the riverboat at the end of the ride. Put Lewis up there, put a full on jazz band. This is like the big ending to that Mardi Gras parade. And then you kind of turn that corner and then you're going into Tiana's place.
Yeah.
I think it works tremendously well. So I'm very excited to see how, or see what Walt Disney Imagineering has in store for us.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Like, I am so ready for Princess and the Frog to get this big overhaul on Splash. And
I can't stress it enough. Bring the beignets to Walt Disney World. Like, we've had the beignets several times out in Disneyland. It fits the theme of the ride. It fits the theme of, hopefully they kind of convert that into a little land. I would love to see if they kind of take that area in between Pirates and Splash Mountain where Pecos Bills is, maybe do a little bit of a retheme to maybe do like a small New Orleans Square type of situation.
Yeah, well, and the thing, like, so yeah, and then you have like the Country Bear Jamboree right in there. Like, you can get rid of that, retheme it to something else. Like, that needs to go.
Yeah, I think that one is a different argument to be made for a different day. But
well, I'm just saying, the possibilities are endless over there. Like, you can make that like Disney World's New Orleans Square. Like, and that would be awesome.
So I'm very excited to see that, and I really would like to see beignets get incorporated in there. There's that little I think it's called the Briar Patch. It's one of the smaller gift shops that is kind of like right near the entrance to the ride. Hey, right there.
Yeah.
Put a little stand in right there. I know there's a huge kind of extended queue out before you hit that barn or the old mill or whatever as you walk into the ride. I think that the mill itself tends to lean perfectly into what Tiana's place looks like at the beginning of the movie. So I think there's so much that makes sense to change this to Princess and the Frog. Right? It's going to be a very easy transition in some places just because the way that the ride lays out looks just like the movie.
Yes. But, I'm excited. I don't know, I don't know if they have any of those plans, but if not, they should.
Call me up.
Get on.
I'm ready for it. I'll put on, my Imagineering vest. I'll go out there with a hard hat. Just give me a call, Yellow Shoes.
Yeah. All right. So I guess maybe we'll start talking about the movie.
Yeah, let's do it. We just recently watched it a couple nights ago.
So good. I just love this movie. I don't know. I just can't say, like, every time I watch it, I'm like, it's so beautiful, and I love the theming, and I just love the storytelling, and I think it's really Disney getting back into.
It's a really like a return to form of like what they were really, really good at, like when we were growing up during the Disney Renaissance. That was something that I feel was just obviously missing a lot in like the early 2000s.
Yes.
After the Disney Renaissance kind of ended, I think kind of ended after Tarzan. They went into a long kind of hiatus of movies that really didn't do well or were poorly received, or just they weren't that Disney quality that we were used to.
I don't know. Do you want to read off the list of movies
Yeah,
that came out?
there was a good handful of them that came out, and they're not the greatest films. There are a couple like really really good films, or films that we really really love, but Fantasia 2000, Dinosaur, Emperor's New Groove, Atlantis, Lilo and Stitch, Treasure Planet, Brother Bear, Home on the Range, Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, and Bolt.
Mm-hmm.
I can only really think of like 2 or 3 movies in there that I genuinely really enjoy. I mean, to be honest, I haven't seen a good handful of them. We did just recently watch a few of those movies, just because we hadn't seen those movies and we wanted to. But the ones that really stand out as, being, great quality, or ones that really stand out would be Emperor's New Groove for me and Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
I would maybe put Brother Bear in there because we just watched that movie not too long ago and we really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. Yeah, I guess I would probably put Brother Bear on there. Probably Emperor's New Groove. Lilo and Stitch, not the biggest fan of. I think
and you've never really been a big fan.
Stitch is just way overrated. Like it's too much. There's too much Stitch stuff. I don't like. I don't get it.
Yeah, and I've always loved the Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah,
that's always been like one of my sleeper hits. I've always kept like near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
But everything else in that list, I'm just kind of just meh about.
Yeah, like it's okay.
Like we watched Atlantis and Treasure Planet. To be honest, I don't even remember one of those movies, and we watched them within the last month.
Yeah, I just remember Atlantis, not great. Treasure Planet was better. Probably not one I'm ever gonna reach for again, to be honest. Like it was all right.
Yeah. So obviously, like we're kind of harping on like how like low quality, I shouldn't say low quality, but like how much we didn't like those movies. They weren't really well received. Some of the movies in general were low quality films, just for the era that they were coming on, and like they just didn't have the animation budget like they used to with the Disney Renaissance. So it was kind of a weird situation going from all these movies that were like these were instant Disney classics. Almost every single movie in the Disney Renaissance was an instant classic, and then you go to a spell of like 10 years where there's not a whole lot coming out, and either
what is coming out is just okay.
Yeah.
Like, I was gonna say probably Emperor's New Groove and Lilo and Stitch are probably like the biggest ones, and like even like, and just for me personally, like they're just okay. Like I think between all those movies, probably Emperor's New Groove, but yeah, and then I don't know, they just kind of disappointed, I think, by those 10 years. But
then The Princess and the Frog
comes out in 2009, and
it was a absolute 180 turn from what they had been putting out. It was just a masterclass return to form on what you expect and want, and what is almost required out of a classic Disney movie. They really went back to the formula of having it be like a Broadway style show, just animated.
Yep.
And I feel like, you look back at Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, like those have all been transitioned to Broadway shows because that's how they were created.
Yeah.
Which I think it says a lot about what they did and why they were trying to accomplish this with Princess and the Frog, because they knew that worked, and what they had been doing hadn't worked in the longest time. It's just one of those movies that we go back to, and it's just kind of like, like this is that classic Disney movie.
It is. I mean, you have this amazing Disney princess who, I mean, she's not even a princess until the end of the movie.
Right.
But Tiana is just like such a strong-willed female character, and I don't know, like you just can't help but like fall in love with her, and like like, and I think like the message, like what she's about, and she just makes like such a great princess at the end.
Yeah, and I think especially with like a lot of like the more recent princesses, like it kind of really started with her and Rapunzel, with them just being like they're strong-willed, they know what they want, and they're just very lovable characters.
Yeah.
And you root for them, and that's why I think a lot of people identify with Tiana and just her dreams and her goals. And then to put on top, there was this diversity change in the Disney princess lineup and just, I guess, Disney lineups in general, where you get the first, African American princess.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it really, like, the story and everything remains as heartfelt and as beautiful with or without her being African American. But like just adding that extra element just really helped people identify with her more, and just really, like, I just felt like it was an appropriate step.
Yeah, I do too. It's just those, it's just Disney taking those smaller, steps to get more representation and inclusion, in their movies and characters. And
right. And if you listen to any of our other podcasts, you know that we very much like yearn and want for that diversity and that inclusivity. That's a big word for Elmo. So it's just really, really nice to see that Disney took a clear direction and stance with this one, and just, I feel, hit it out of the park with this one.
Yeah, I do too. Like, it's just such a good movie. But I guess with all that being said,
you think that this movie would have made was a huge blockbuster and was like their biggest film.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
No, it wasn't, because then Tangled came out
in the year afterwards.
I think the year after, and that did, I don't know, I think it just it did better.
It did significantly better. And that's kind of why I know we kind of briefly talked about this off screen a little bit, but Disney was kind of wanting to get back to that Disney Renaissance type of movie, but they didn't know if they could do it as a 2D film or a 3D film. So that's why they essentially kind of put these two films out and said, okay, well, I guess which one's going to do better, and we'll kind of stick with that format.
Yeah.
And just nothing against Tiana, but Rapunzel and Tangled just did better. And that's why you see all these movies since being 3D animated movies instead of the 2D animation. I do wish and love to see a 2D movie come back in. But that's just kind of how it all worked out. But
Yeah.
I think Tangled stole a lot of the thunder between the two princess movies.
Yeah.
But I think they're equally as good. I love both of those. I'm sure we could probably do another episode just on Tangled.
Yes.
For one of these dig a little deeper episodes. But that's kind of how it all kind of panned out at the end.
Yeah. So I guess with that being said, so do you think Princess and the Frog is underrated? Or do you think it's just the amount of
I don't know if underrated is the best phrase. I would say that it's maybe underappreciated.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Because, and I think it's just because at that point, everything was kind of turning to the 3D animation. This was, I think the animation in this film was gorgeous.
Yes.
The illustrations and the paintings were absolutely amazing. And obviously there were some 3D elements in it, but I just really feel like that it was gorgeously done. And I just don't think now, seeing what the 3D movies are coming out now, with Moana and Frozen 2, and just how realistic that they're getting, and just how precise that they can get with the animations, maybe a 2D film like Princess and the Frog kind of gets overlooked or underappreciated because of the animation style.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I agree with that statement, and I don't know if it has to do with the story itself or just Tiana as a princess, but I do feel like it is underrated, or like you said, underappreciated. And like I said, I don't know if that's just the storyline, but I feel, because I feel if you ask somebody which movie they like better, The Princess and the Frog or Tangled, I feel like a lot of people are going to say Tangled.
Right. And I think that maybe another part of it, why there could be some a little bit of like a sentiment of underratedness to this movie is just because we hadn't had a Disney princess movie in a long time.
Yeah, because the last one before this was Mulan, and
Right.
that was 98.
98. So, I mean, at this point, it had been 11 years
Yeah.
since a Disney princess movie came out. And obviously, like, you knew that it was going to be a Disney princess movie. So it
Hmm.
was kind of, I feel like it had like a lot of high expectations.
Yeah.
And I don't know, obviously, I feel like it hit those expectations.
I do
But if
too.
you feel like, if you knew that that was coming out and then Tangled was coming out and how much more well received and, generally overall better in air quotes that Tangled was to the
Yeah.
general public, I think that maybe that's why Tiana doesn't get quite as much, fanfare or is a little, you know, maybe underrated
Hmm.
than
Yeah, because I feel I feel like Tiana and Punzi, like they have very similar qualities. Like
oh yeah.
they're very strong-willed. They know what they want. Like, they're following their dreams. Um yeah, but then I feel like, when you're talking about like I guess the princess movies in general, I feel like the Princess and the Frog just, for some reason people just underappreciate it.
And I don't know if like the fact that for a good half, 3/4 in the movie, she's a frog.
Yeah, she's
She's not an actual like human character. So
mhm.
I don't know if that has something to do with it, but I genuinely love this movie.
I do too.
I I don't see any flaws in the movie.
Mm-mm.
But not to say
No.
that everyone thinks that there's a flaw and we're the only people that like this movie. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people genuinely love this movie. It's obviously big enough of a franchise and of a character to convert a well-established Disney World and Disneyland ride
Yeah.
over. It's just from kind of what we're seeing, and I guess the sentiment is it's maybe that she's a little bit underrated in our eyes or underappreciated in our
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah. And like you said, I think a lot has to do with like this is the first, Disney princess film in like 11 years. And then you come out with such a strong willed, like, she's following her dreams. She knows what she wants. She knows what she needs to do to get it done. Like, she doesn't really need like a prince to come in and save her.
Like she's actively not wanting a prince to come in and
Yeah,
save her.
yeah. So I don't know if that's just kind of off-putting to people.
It's not to us.
No, not to us at all. Like I think that's what makes her so like lovable, and I also think that that's what speaks to like the message of the film is like she has this dream of opening her own restaurant,
Hmm.
and like she's gonna work so hard.
And do whatever she can do
Yeah,
to make sure that dream comes true.
right. And then I think the message at the end of the film is like it's okay if your dreams change a little bit, or like if you maybe take a different path to like, get to what you want, like to follow your dream. And in her case that was, becoming a frog and falling in love with somebody that she thought she never would, and and that it's okay to do that. And I think that's a good message to send to people, like, it's okay to change your mind, or it's
Yeah.
okay to like take a different path in life than what you thought you needed to do. But she still worked hard and she still accomplished what she wanted to do, and I really admire that about her.
Yeah, me too.
Hmm.
Yeah. So speaking of dreams and how it affected Tiana's character, like it definitely affected Naveen's character in kind of like an opposite way.
Yeah, yeah, and I really like that about the movie, like, because dreams are prevalent, like, I think throughout, like,
Oh yeah, because
all the
Lewis have
characters.
dreams, and Charlotte has dreams. Like they all have dreams, but it's how they achieve them, and
Yeah,
how like dreams are perceived for different characters.
yeah,
And I think with Naveen, he was very much the polar opposite of Tiana. He was
yeah,
carefree. He didn't really care about too much. He just wanted to go out
mhm,
and party and have fun and just listen to music and dance and
living that high life.
living that high life. And he didn't really care about any of the consequences or not really
Yeah,
cared about you know if he could do that or not.
yeah,
And while Tiana was very much like, my dream is to open up this restaurant, like you said, I need to focus. I need to save all my money. I need to work 2 jobs. I need to
mhm,
do all that I possibly can do. And by doing that, the fun kind of fell to the wayside for Tiana.
Yeah, for sure.
So I feel it was very nice to see both of them being started off at polar opposites and then kind of switch dreams. I not say switch dreams.
Yeah, but I think they very nicely meet in the middle. Like
Yes.
they're very much far apart, but then their journey, like to find Mama Odie and like, you know, figuring out what they want and need, like, yeah, they're slowly kind of coming together and meeting in the middle. And I don't know, it's just so perfect.
Yes. And I just, you know, with Naveen's character, he had so much going for him, just being this rich son from, you know, royalty.
Yeah.
And obviously Tiana did not have that at all.
Right.
And then just kind of seeing Tiana open up to someone who was like that. And then Naveen realizing, like, I can learn a lot from someone who's not, you know, kind of arrogant or rich or have, you know, everything kind of handed to them.
Right. Yeah, because he even says that in the movie, like, when Tiana's making the gumbo out in the bayou, and he doesn't even know how to like chop up a mushroom or you know, and he's like, I've never had to do any of this stuff for myself. Like, I've always had somebody there to dress me and bathe me and feed me and like, you know, so like it's him learning that, you know, yes, he comes from a place where he can have those things done for him, but it's okay for him to learn and do things, you know, for himself. And I think that was a really good lesson for him to learn. And
that's the movie in general. It always seems like there's always a really good lesson, like any place in this movie. And just especially how, like, you know, learning to balance, you know, being so hard on yourself to achieve a dream and, you know, realizing like there's more to life than just, you know, partying and, you know, just kind of being like lackadaisical about things. Like there's good stories and good lessons to learn from any of these characters.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a little bit here since we're on the topic of characters. What are some of your favorite characters from the movie?
Ray. I love Ray so much. And like his love for Evangeline, like it just gets me every time. And it just breaks my heart when, like, I know Tiana, like towards the end of the movie when she's, you know,
she's obviously upset
and she tells Ray, like, she's just a star, Ray. And I'm like, no, that's the love of his life. And
like you could tell he's so upset. He's like, oh, she don't mean nothing by it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just like, oh Ray.
Gosh. Oh, Ray. Like, he's just my favorite. I'd say
Ray's my favorite character in this movie.
I love him a lot. Also Mama Odie. I think she's just so fun. And yeah, I don't know, like her song, Dig a Little Deeper. One of my favorites off the soundtrack. And we
were actually just talking about this the other day after we watched it. Like, this soundtrack is just full of hits.
It is.
like literally song after song after song is just so good. Like, I mean, it's not like a huge, like, you know, like book or, you know, book of music, but like what is in there is incredible.
So good.
And something I learned researching this episode is that all of the music and composition is done by Randy Newman.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
For those who don't know who Randy Newman is, he was the singer and writer who did the Toy Story music. Yep, so You Got a Friend in Me, and all those, you know, hits from Toy Story. And he's come back for every single Toy Story film. And I'm just kind of like, I didn't realize like his name was attached to this, and he did all of the music.
Well, it's just so different. Like, I feel like a lot of the music from Toy Story is more on the mellow side. Like, it's not like anything crazy. And then you have like a lot of upbeat songs, like I feel like from Princess and the Frog. So, and like, I just wouldn't have guessed that the same person would have done it.
So I feel like that was a really strong choice, kind of getting back to why Disney kind of went this way to get back to those Renaissance type of films. They took an artist that they've worked with that has proven to be a fantastic composer and singer and writer, and put him into his element and said, hey, like, here's this story that's happening down in New Orleans, like, do your thing. And the music is just incredible. It really
is. I love it.
Another thing that I think Disney was really smart about with doing is that, along with the music, they picked the right directors for this film.
Yes.
John Musker and Ron Clements are the directors of this movie, and they've directed The Great Mouse Detective, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules, and Moana. Yeah. So they have quite the resume for this. I mean, obviously, you love The Great Mouse Detective.
Love The Great Mouse Detective.
Hercules is my go-to number one movie. I absolutely love that movie. Aladdin was my favorite movie growing up as a kid.
Yes.
So like these two have done so much to my childhood.
Yep.
So seeing them come back and realizing they're the ones that directed this movie.
Yeah, it really makes a lot of sense. You know, like
yes.
you said, like getting back to the Disney roots, and yeah, just making sure that this film is gonna be as great as it can be, and they really put it in good hands.
Yes. So the overall, just the tonal theme and the message behind the film, we absolutely love. I gush about this film just because I think it's so beautifully animated. The songs are incredible. The message is there. The characters are so awesome. I think one of the characters we haven't really touched on yet was Dr. Facilier.
Yeah, like his or him being a villain. Like I guess, like, do you like his villainous, or do you think
I do. I think he's actually one of the best villains in a Disney film.
I do too. I really like him. I love his song.
Friends on the
Other Side. I don't know. Like, I love that song. But I think he makes a great villain. Like, I think he's
just so like he's got that like snake oil salesman slenderness and like slyness to him, but like he gets really mad and passionate about what he's doing, and it's just he's just so manipulative.
Yes.
And I think that's what makes him a great villain. I was kind of going through all the other villains, the bigger villains from previous films, and like I gotta put him right up on top there with some of the big ones, like with like Maleficent and Scar, because like he's just so evil.
He is, yeah, and he's very much in it for himself because he wants to get ahead. Like, because his whole plan is like, to get Lawrence, dressed up as Naveen so that he can marry Charlotte and then kill off her dad and then take over New Orleans. Like, if that's not an evil plan, I don't know what is. Like, yeah, he makes a great villain.
Yeah. I just, like you said, his songs are incredible. His song is incredible. He's just got that like ick factor.
Yeah.
And just the whole like him and the shadow monsters going through the graveyard, and like him stepping on Ray and crushing Ray. Like,
I know,
like that is like one of the worst things I've seen a villain do. Yep. Like he was just, it was just, I mean, I don't want to like just be like Ray's a bug. Like he's more than a bug, but he's just a firefly.
Yeah.
But like I didn't think that I could feel so much pain and hurt and anguish over a villain or a person stepping on a firefly because of how pure and innocent Ray is, and how just evil and destructive and manipulative Dr. Facilier is or was.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he goes where he needs to be. So at the end of the film.
But I just keep going back to it. We love this film, and we loved doing this deep dive on a film that we truly will always go back to and always watch.
Yeah, always. And I just think like the overall messaging, like with your dreams and how they changed, like,
and that's okay for your dreams to change.
Yeah. Yep. And I just love that, like, the love too. Like, obviously, like, Tiana, like, is grossed out by the idea of kissing a frog, let alone falling in love with a frog and being okay, like, living out a frog life with him at the end. Because essentially that's what she was going to do. But because of, like, the curse and everything, like, once they kiss, like, they...
And also, I'll just want
to
add this in here. I think that dress transformation from when they're frog Tiana and Naveen to human form, and you get that like big glittery ball, and it reminded me so much of Cinderella and like her transformation.
Yes.
Like I feel like that was so beautifully illustrated or animated. I just think it's one of like the best like transitions or transformations in Disney. And I don't know if it's just me being like a gusher for these dress transformations. Like we had it in the Frozen episode, and like I think that's just it's so perfect, and her dress is so pretty, and it's adorned with just like, you know, it fits her character, it fits the Bayou, it fits like you'd think that'd be good for a frog and Tiana. It's just perfect.
Yes, I love it. And yeah, like the whole like ending of the movie is perfect, because like you get so at the end, like you have Ray, he got squished and he's dying, but he gets to go be with his Evangeline, and then, you know, Naveen and Tiana get married, and they kiss and they turn back into like humans, and, you know, they get to live out what essentially is now both of their dreams together. Like, you know, it was Tiana's dream to own that restaurant, but then it kind of became Naveen's dream too, because he realized he loved Tiana.
His dream was making sure Tiana's dreams came true, that he could fulfill Tiana's dreams.
I just love that. Like, I don't know, like I can't say it. Like, this is such a great movie, and I just love the different messaging, like, you know, with the dreams and like love and who you fall in love with. Like, you know, because you have like Ray with Evangeline, who's obviously a star, but, you know, he still loves her all the same. And I don't know, I just love this movie.
Well, I feel like it was so much fun taking this deep dive again to a movie that we absolutely love. We do have a couple ideas for some more movies to dig a little deeper into. I guess if there's any ones that you're particularly wanting or interested in hearing our opinions on the movie.
Yeah, it was funny with this episode. We've had this in the works
for a few weeks,
for a couple weeks, and then we had put a message or like a question box out on our Instagram page, and Sarah from the Fan Club podcast was like,
I'd love to hear the Princess and the Frog themed episode.
And it was so funny because we had already been talking about this, and this was going to be our first dig a little deeper episode. And yeah, she had suggested that, and I'm like, well, I guess great minds think alike, don't they? So I thought that was awesome. But yeah, if you have other movies that you'd like us to talk about, just let us know. And
yeah, we're hoping to make this a recurring kind of like a monthly thing that we kind of sit down and watch another movie and give our thoughts and opinions and do a little bit of research more on the film. Again, like I mentioned before, like there's so much I learned about this movie just from the little bit, from the research that we did leading up into kind of coming up with the podcast. And it was just so much fun and so much interesting, and just we got to watch the movie again, which was incredible. And I'm looking forward to reconnecting with some of these movies again, and kind of doing this deep dive and digging a little deeper in them.
Yeah, me too.
But I think that's going to do it for today's episode of again our Dig a Little Deeper series. We want to thank all of our listeners for all the love and support that you give us. Couldn't do it without you guys here. We can't wait to talk to you all next week.
Yes.
For the Team Unicorn podcast, I am Tyler.
And I'm Sammy.
And it's been magical.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Team Unicorn podcast. You can find us on all major podcast platforms as well as YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, like, and review wherever you are listening, and follow us on Instagram to keep up with all things Team Unicorn. And remember, stay magical.